What is my top priority as a regional director? So I could give you a very formal answer in terms of what our objectives are. And, in the round, I genuinely believe that we're here to play our role for the 9 million people in the Southeast, so that we can deliver the best care, timely care, improve health outcomes and reduce health inequalities. I think that's what we're about, access to excellent care and treatment. And I think my role as a regional director is kind of the leader of the leaders, to work with the teams out there to enable us to deliver on those objectives. And so we talk a lot about the money, urgent care, elective waiting lists, and all the rest of it. My priority is to look after the health and well-being of our leaders, of the team. And I did a piece of work recently. Where do I put my time and effort? And in a week, I could be spending about a third of my time on leaders or on teams that are struggling, and really understanding, what's at issue here. Is it someone needs some different development or training or support, or just wrong job? And it's those personal conversations, actually. I think that's my job. That's my key priority in terms of those leaders, and not just the chief executives, but the teams that are around them. It was Lord David Pryor, when he was the chairman, he said to me, "Well, you've got a very easy job, Anne." I said, "Is that right, David? Well, what would that be then?" He said, "How many organizations do you have?" And I said, "Oh, at the time, 30, 40. And he said, "Okay, so all you need is 40 great leaders, and then you've done your job." Now, that's boiling it down, but I think at the end of the day, that is the job, that we have the best leadership that we can. And as I say, I do think my priority is to nurture, to inspire, to lead, but also trying to look after, so that we can have that inclusive, kind and compassionate, but results orientated culture that is helping us to deliver our objectives. I hope never to grow up, I guess. And what do I want to be when I grow up? So, some of you will know I'm from a little town in the northwest, a proper little working town, and all the rest of it. And what I really wanted to be when I grew up is I wanted to join the diplomatic service. I wanted to be a foreign sort of correspondent, yes. But lassies from Whitehaven don't really join the Foreign Office. And so that was what I really wanted to be when I grew up. I love culture, history, language, politics. It would have really played to my passions, really. And so what I have realized over the years is, and genuinely, people can be anything that they want to be. And it took me to go back to school, on one of the leadership days, to go back to my old school, which was very scary, actually. And to see all these kids were really smart, but lacking in confidence, lacking in role models, or just really an understanding of the art of the possible. So what I want to be when I grow up is maybe, even after all these years in the service, still having that imposter syndrome, I suppose, is to believe in myself a little bit more, and, that you can do it. And also that you are going to get things wrong along the way, but kind of that's okay. So, yeah, I want to be a bit kinder to myself, I suppose, when I grow up. So what have I learned from my struggles in the NHS? I have absolutely learned, and, the old adage, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. There is no doubt about that. I've learned that things do go wrong. That's just life. The business that we're in is about risk, and you work hard to manage that risk, to mitigate the risk, to balance the risk. But at the end of the day, things are going to go wrong. And so what I've learned is it's okay to ask for help. And it's absolutely hugely important that when things are going wrong, that you're transparent and you're open. And I've learned that people like me are genuinely there to help and support, because that's what it's about. And it's not a black mark, pass fail. It's life. It happens. So I have learned that stuff does go wrong. And so just expect it, and be open and then work on it. What I've also learned when things have gone wrong in organizations for me is that when you work with a team and you work with an organization and you create a culture, and when things go wrong, and whether you're put into some sort of special measures or whatever, that you've got that trust and those relationships in the organization, that you can garner people to get behind you and say, actually, this isn't what we stand for, this isn't good enough, we're going to make a difference, and they can see a different sort of future, and they get behind you and follow, because it's the right thing to do, and people are proud of the organization. So that's what I've learned, is that you can build the right kind of culture, the right kind of pride, organizational pride. And at a personal level, you don't have to know all the answers. You're as good as your team. It's not, I think the days of those heroic leaders have gone. It's always been about teamwork, but I think more and more, the importance of team, that diverse sort of leadership, I think is absolutely critical. Sometimes it's just someone genuinely to talk to. And I think they know that, because I've been there, for 30 years or whatever, that, I've been there. It can be really lonely. And, sometimes they think they have to be invincible. And so sometimes just a listening ear, I think that's a lot of it. I think the second thing is, across the region and across the health service, there's always somebody who solved the problem that said individual may have. Oh, why don't you go and talk to Miles down at MTW? He's really cracked that. Go and have a look at what's happening in Oxford Health, whatever it is. I think usually, and I think I'm a bit of a matchmaker, that's really good practice there. So sometimes it feels like an agony aunt, and sometimes it feels like a matchmaker in terms of the role. But try a lot of listening, but also a lot of connecting. Yeah. And then sometimes, just as I say, sharing my own experiences in terms of what's worked and what hasn't worked. Yeah. Why do we need to develop aspirant chief execs? So we've talked a lot today about the agenda that we're facing, and it's not just the health service, it's societal, isn't it? The economy, look at the issues in terms of our workforce and the like. But within health, there are millions of people now on a waiting list. We are multi-millions overspent. There are 50,000 vacancies for nurses and 100,000 in the care sector. So we have the agenda that is facing us, our interest huge. And so we need to develop leaders who can really help us in terms of meeting the needs of our citizens, and that's both the recovery, but also given how the people are getting older and the like, how we're going to look after from that cradle to grave. So therefore, just given the problems that we're trying to solve, the challenges that are there, we need the very best leaders that we can, because whether you're working, for NASA or Facebook or whoever you're working for, these are huge challenges. So we do need the best of the best. So I think that's why we need to develop our leaders, but also our leaders as part of our teams. Yeah. So just thinking about, when you see individuals in organizations along the way, and you think, yeah, they've got something, those stars, they've got that X factor, whatever it is. And yeah, I think that they're going to make an amazing chief executive or director. One of the things I am really proud of over the year is I think I can probably say there's 10, at least 10 chief executives, maybe more, and certainly more directors that I've thought, yeah, there's something about you. And what is it? Often there's an energy that they are really value driven, often, very patient centered. Good listeners, good communicators, um, good team players, usually good as member of a team. Good communicators, really important in terms of communicators. But they've got that something that you would follow them. They would inspire you. They'd motivate. They've got vision. It's that sort of thing. When in one of my organizations, we used to do the Star Awards. Well, it was at St. Mary's, and people put forward, who they thought their stars were. In fact, we've done it in the Southeast, haven't we? The stars of the Southeast. And when you have a look at, when people are coming forward and saying we have nominated because, it is typically in that, that they've inspired, they've led, and I think they get the best out of people. They enable, they enable their team to be the best that they can be for the people who use the services. So yeah, that is something I've been really interested in over the years. And when you see it, you can see it, but sometimes it's hard to quite articulate it. But what I've also seen is, and I think we need to get better at this. There are some people who are quite good at self-promotion and the like. Not all leaders need to be out and out raging extroverts and, good on their feet and all the rest of it. So I do think sometimes we have to think about, the leadership skills that are required in one organization or in one service may be slightly different. So what we don't want is this sort of carbon sort of copy. So we need to just really think about that over time. And how do we help those folk who, like those school children I saw when I went back to my school, that do have what it takes, but they haven't got the confidence to step out. And for me, I do think there's an untapped seam there, and I think we need to reach in sometime, not just see what presents itself. And often I have found, that we do need to go into those groups that aren't as well represented. So whether it's into our Black and ethnic minority groups or our disabled groups or whatever, I think sometimes it's about really leaning in and seeing who's there, because I think you do sometimes have to encourage folks, because there has been a fairly traditional and typical. I think that's moved on now in terms of what a chief executive looks like. But I do think sometimes, yeah, sometimes the star emerges, and sometimes you need to help it a little bit to come to the surface. When you're thinking, should I apply for my first chief executive role? What advice would I give myself? I think probably what I did was, I'd have a look at the job description and I'd have a big checklist. And if there were 10 items, I'd go tick, tick, tick. Yes, I can do that. No, I can't do that. But I think on balance now, looking back in terms of that state of preparedness, your experience acting into the role, going and talking to other chief executives and whatever. I don't think it's that kind of pass fail or yes, I can do 8 out of 10 of these things. Therefore, just think yourself into the role, talk to other people about what does it take, what does it feel like as well. And I think the bit that I've found the most difficult to really comprehend, and sometimes you have to have the job before you can really take it on board, is being the accountable officer. And, I took the accountable officer role very, very seriously. Ultimately, the buck stops with you. From a clinical governance, from a corporate governance perspective, you are the accountable officer. And, heavy the head that wears the crown and all of that. It really does. And when you step into a different role, you genuinely feel your shoulders because it's important. And I think the other thing that I would think about now is about the relationship with the chair and the relationship with the board, because it's very, very different. So at a personal level, I do like a bit of challenge. I like a bit of challenge. Um, so support is great, but it is easy to get into a bit of groupthink. So for me personally, it is that challenge, and so I try. To think about a chair that would work for me, someone that's different, somebody who really does complement me. I've worked in the health service all my career, so it's helpful to have people, in that sort of diverse and inclusive way, to have people from different walks of life, different experiences. So yeah, definitely a bit of challenge. Support for sure. I also look for someone that, that we've got each other's backs, and, work through stuff together. I think that's, for me, it's a proper partnership, so somebody I can communicate with. Yeah, in an ideal world, is someone you like as well, because I think it's a huge, it's like a marriage, you spend a lot of time with them. So ideally you like, and you can communicate and there are no surprises. I suppose it is like a marriage. I think those sorts of things really do help. But for me, definitely a bit of challenge, I think is good for me. So I think the first thing I would say is believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Confidence builds with experience and with success and with failure. You become a better version of yourself. The second thing, I suppose, is what is my true north? What's important here? At the end of the day, you come into health, into a leadership role in health. I could have worked in Marks and Spencer's or at a bank or whatever, and I chose health. Why? Because I wanted to make a difference for people. And so my child's self would be remember what it's about at the end of the day. It is, Mrs. Jones who's living on her own and has had a fall and whatever. Remember that's what it's about at the end of the day. And I think, the other thing I think my younger self would say is slow down a bit. Slow down to go faster, because I'm impatient, and I'm impatient because I want us to do the very best that we can. And I think I've learned over the years sometimes you have to slow down to go fast. And Rome wasn't built in a day and all of that. So I think the enormity of what we face today, you have to prioritize. We tend to run on too many fronts. So I do think we need to really prioritize, and it's a team sport. I think that's the other thing. You don't have to do it all on your own, Anne. There's a whole team out there to work with, and it's really important. So yeah, so keep centered. Remember what it's about. Remember it's a team sport. Yeah, be patient, slow down, and and then you will go faster. Yeah, stop doing all the heavy lifting. You've got a team, use them. So that is definitely something I've got better at over the years, because also the jobs get bigger and bigger and bigger, and you can't do it all yourself. Those of you out there, those aspiring chief executives, what's the one thing that you could do today? So what I would suggest is that you talk to your manager, your manager's manager, or come and talk to us talk to Fiona and the talent team here at Region, but just make it known that, yes, that's me. I can see that, I have something to offer. I want to learn. I want to develop. So, yeah, step forward is what I would say today, because we want to hear from you. You've heard a lot today about the challenges that we're facing, and they are pretty huge. But, we have fabulous talent within the Southeast. We're only as good as our team. So I'd ask you, please step forward, come and talk to us, and then together I'm sure that we can build on the talent that is out there, and together we will be able to deliver on our agenda for the people who use our services in the Southeast.